Hi, everybody, and thank you for joining us for Finding Your Summer Job or Internship. We like to run a workshop, this workshop or one like it at the close to the beginning of the spring semester, because we know that looking ahead to the summer and what you'll do is on a lot of students' minds. And in fact, I was looking at Handshake today, and our number one most popular advising topic at the moment is internship and job search. So that's a combination of both undergraduates and or first year sophomores and juniors, and seniors who are looking for their post-grad jobs. I'm Christine Valenza-Shin. I am Associate Dean of Beyond Barnard and an alum of the college as well, class of '84. And I'm excited to be co-presenting with my colleague, Urelis.
Hi, everyone. My name is Urelis Canales, and I am an advisor and program coordinator at Beyond Barnard. I did not graduate from Barnard College, but I've had the pleasure to be working here for the last couple of months or so. And I love the community, so I'm super excited to be here. Excellent. Okay,
So first thing we wanted to say right off the bat is we're going to be talking mostly about job search and internship skills and that process, but incorporated in all of that are some of these basic career skills as well. So we just want to give a shout out to our upcoming Career Skills Week, really what's essentially the first week of March, but starting on the last day of February. And so basically we take 4 days to go over some of the basic building blocks. So if you want to either start constructing your resume or brush it up, if cover letters have you stumped or kind of are a challenge to you, come to that session. We'll talk about the networking piece of looking for a job and internship, or just in general, the concept of networking, and then interviewing. A lot of some interviews have jobs, some internships have interviews, some don't, but it's always a good skill to start getting comfortable with, because at some point you're going to encounter that. So you can register for any of those via Handshake. When you log on to Handshake and click events, you can either see the whole array of what's coming up, or you can search. If you put in career skills, all of these should pop up. So today, though, we're going to take a look at these key points. We're going to talk a little bit about the upcoming summer and how it fits into your career, whether you're a first year, sophomore, or junior. 4 considerations, 4 things to be thinking about as you approach and hone your strategy for the summer. And then we'll go into some more practical matters. We'll look at some basic search tips, and then go over some of the Beyond Barnard resources that can help you with that. And then we'll wrap up with some take-home points and leave some time for your questions.
all right. Thank you, Christine, for that perfect segue. Small disclaimer, if you hear some rustling in the background, I have 2 very active cats, and they're very much night animals. So I apologize in advance. But like Christine said, so we're going to talk a little bit about this coming summer and the grander picture when it comes to your internship search, your job search, and your career as a whole, as well as a couple of different considerations you should start thinking about as you go into your summer search. So I think a common thing that I experience, and as well as a lot of different advisors when we're meeting with students, is this idea of this immediacy, this urgency when it comes to your internship and job search. I think this especially rings true for anyone in their internship or job search, but especially for first year students, second year students. There's this idea that your first internship has to be the right internship, right? The summer is critical at getting that initial first step. And we're here to kind of dispel some of those myths, right? So like it says here, the summer is short, but your career will be so long. This is just a starting point for you all. So this could be an opportunity to start thinking about your experiences and start embracing the freedom that comes with exploring different internships. This is a great way to kind of explore the various careers that are out there, industries that you might be interested in. There is no right or wrong starting point when it comes to your job and internship search. Something else we like to emphasize is the act of working over the nature of the work. So again, this idea that even getting anything on your resume, whether it is an internship at a company that you maybe did not have on the top of your list, or something that's not directly correlated to a career that you're interested in the future. Even any kind of internship like that is going to look good on a resume because employers just see that you are doing something, and that is the point. And lastly, your goals can change, right? So I think the more that we are seeing people, the further out into their careers, that they're deciding they don't want to stick to one thing, right? They might have a career change or their circumstances change. So we could almost expect that what we enjoy now might differ in the future. Keeping that in mind, knowing goals can change and that the experiences are just what they are right now can be incredibly comforting as you go forth in your internship or job search. Short answer, it's less important what it is now, just that you're doing something. And I really hope that provides some sort of comfort as you move forward in this. Okay, so going into some different considerations for your summer search. So whether you're looking for an internship or you're starting your first professional job, from graduating, there are some things that you should start considering as you go forth in your summer search. So some of these things are working on or building a work history, right? Thinking about your transferable skill set and how you can translate your skills to a variety of different industries. Again, going back to this idea that you don't have to necessarily have all your experience in one profession. Actually, having a variety can really add some dimension to your overall candidacy. Thinking about building your network. So either you've graduated from Barnard or you're just getting started, how can you start to build a network of very genuine connections that you can use to almost kind of leverage your career search, but also to find some guidance and find some really true mentorship to kind of lead you in the direction that you want to go in. And lastly, and I think might be the hardest part of a career search, is thinking about yourself and reflecting on your own knowledge, right? Again, we talked about who you are in your first year could differ greatly in your senior year, and that's encouraged. So thinking about over the summer, some of the ways that you might be changing, right? And what do you value in your search? What are some skills that you enjoy doing on a day-to-day basis? Some of these self-reflection questions can be critical in getting you where you need to go. And can be the foundation of your summer search as a whole, even though it could be hard work. Okay, so like I mentioned, so building up on a work history. So I think something that we hear a lot is, you're a student, right? You're at Barnard College, rigorous academic load. But some things we want to talk about is that being in school may not necessarily equal being an employee, right? Again, you want to just build your internship experience, build your job experience, and put something on your resume that shows you're doing something other than being a Barnard student. Your work history shows employers that you know how to be an employee, right? Something that I think we encounter a lot is that students are like, oh, well, I just did this customer service job, or I was a cashier. When actuality, all these skills are going to be important and critical no matter what industry you go into. You can name anything, and I promise you, you will use customer service, you will use communication. And with that said, showing up is at least half the battle, right? So employers just want to see that you are doing something, and that they know that you know how to act in a professional environment, and you've had those experiences before. As we kind of move forward in this, I want you all to start thinking about what are some skills that you gain simply by working. And you can feel free to put this in the chat as we move forward, but really start thinking about these transferable skills and how can it help you in your future searches, as well as getting you started throughout your summer. Okay, so building a transferable skill set. So for those of you who don't know, transferable skills are skills that are useful across disciplines, industries, and jobs. I just named some on the last slide. So communication, time management, these are all important skills that you can utilize anywhere that you go. And like I said, yeah, these skills you will use for the rest of your life or in any career that you go into. And it actually makes it easier to pivot as your career interests change. Yes, Christine, writing and editing, crucial. You will use that anywhere that you go. Again, and you would probably get this advice when you're meeting with someone at Beyond Barnard, but no matter what industry you start in, there are likely transferable skills that you got within that position, within that role, that you could apply to something vastly different. And that's when that reflection piece comes into play. You can really start thinking about the skills that you've gained and how you can apply it to various industries. So it matters less what you start with, it's just a matter that you're doing something again. Okay. Building your network, which I think is something that students dread, but I promise you it is, it's much less scary than it seems. So we like to encourage students to start networking throughout your time at Barnard College. And networking does tend to get a bad rep, but it doesn't have to be this big scary thing. Network is really important because it can provide you or connect you with information and opportunities to help you in your internship and job search. You're able to connect with people from your summer opportunity on LinkedIn to kind of further that relationship and kind of build that rapport. And you can also find potential mentors on Barnard Connect. We cannot emphasize this point enough. And again, it does not have to be this really scary process. More often than not, you are building your network in a genuine way. These are people who served as your supervisors that you've already connected to in a genuine way in person or remotely if you did your experiences like that. The main point is that you want to be proactive in this, and this can organically lead you to different internship opportunities or jobs if you are looking for a full-time work after you graduate. We can talk a little bit more about networking. We do have, like Christine mentioned, some career skills workshops that are coming up in the future. And that goes more in depth about the networking process. But this is something you definitely want to consider before you start doing your summer internship or job search. Okay, so now the hard part that I was talking about. So building self-knowledge. This goes without saying, the better you know yourself, the more likely you are to make good choices for yourself. So if you're looking for a job within, let's say, marketing, but you're really not into collaboration, or you're maybe don't really enjoy writing that much, this might not be an industry for you. And of course, it takes some time to reflect and get to that point. But if you start thinking about these questions like your favorite and least favorite task, situations you most and least enjoy, and activities that give you energy and others that might sap it. Going to give a shout out to all my introverts out there. So if you're introverted, you might start thinking of different positions that you might not necessarily have to be do much talking or meeting with people or collaborating. So it's important to think about the why for each of these. Again, this is something that is going to shift throughout your time, even post-grad. This is such a useful skill and just something you want to always think about as you go through your internship and job search. And it's all a process. Okay, back to you, Christine.
And one key thing, just back on what Eurelis was just saying, is that often when you're starting out in an internship or in your first job or two after college, you're not going to have complete control to only do the things you're best at, only be in the situations you like the most, but becoming increasingly aware of that and learning coping strategies, so maybe you are an introvert and find yourself in a very extroverted environment or role. How can you manage that for yourself? So that's all part of the learning curve. And I think an interesting way to think about your career is that each time you make a move, are you able to do more of what you like and are most comfortable with and are best at, and a little less of what you don't like and aren't as good at. And then of course, always leaving learning into the process. Just because you aren't good at something right now, it could be something that could be really interesting to you and that you could gain gain skills in. But let's go in, as I said, transition to some of the more practical part. And we'll look at some search tips. How do you get started on all this, or how do you expand what you're already doing? So first of all, you want to cast a wide net, especially if you've started kind of narrow and you're not getting a lot of traction, as we call it. Maybe you're not seeing a lot of things you can apply to, or maybe you're not hearing back. So you definitely want to open up and broaden what you're looking for. Internships are not the only way to gain experience, and Handshake is not the only place to look. Handshake is very useful because it is what we call a general job site, in the sense that people from all fields are posting, but it is a niche website in the fact that it's targeted towards current, or for the most part, recently graduated students. There definitely are some opportunities for more experienced hires, but it tends to be targeted more towards the internship and entry level. And what you'll find is, because it is a college-oriented tool, that because employers can exclude first years and sometimes sophomores, sometimes they will. They'll sort of be saying, oh, yeah, it would be great to get a junior or a senior who maybe has a little more experience, or who has taken a few more coding classes, or is just further along in their major or their other courses. Don't take it personally if you're a first year or sophomore. It's just kind of a thing that happens, and not everybody does that. There are opportunities open, but don't get discouraged if you're not finding a ton on Handshake. Definitely use the filters, definitely come back more than once, because things are posted every single day, but you also want to broaden it. And so you can go out to other true general sites like Indeed.com, LinkedIn Jobs are probably two of the biggest. What's the other one that's been advertised? ZipRecruiter is advertising a lot. That's another option. And then there's a whole world of what we call niche sites that are industry specific. Just mentioned two here. Idealist.org covers the nonprofit sector, which is huge. So it's niche doesn't necessarily mean small. It just means that they're trying to narrow the types of opportunities. And Media Bistro covers communications, marketing, PR, that type of thing. But for every field, there is a niche website, a niche job site. And one of the things, actually a great question to ask when you are networking, if you do have an informational conversation with somebody that you're connecting with, is to ask about that, for this, or when you're working this summer, if you're working in a field that you're starting to like, ask about, what are the niche job sites for this particular sector? And we can also give you some information on that in our advising and in some of the other workshops that we run. The goal, again, in sort of casting a wide net and keeping your mind open, is to do something of value to you, and hopefully that you will enjoy. All right. And that value, I sort of struggled with this bullet. Which word should I use? I ended on value, because value could mean a lot of things. It could mean valuable in the sense of building your career, building your resume, the way Eurelis was talking about. It could be the value is in the money. It could be that you take a job that's not necessarily something you're going to plan your career around, but it's flexible, it pays a lot per hour, it's familiar, it's remote, it's in your hometown, it's in New York City. Whatever is important to you, there could be all sorts of reasons for taking that and using that. And so you want to not be too picky, and just open, broaden your perspective, open yourself up to a variety of experiences or combinations of experiences. I think I'll talk about this a little more in a minute, but you don't need to be doing just one thing. You could do a series of things over the summer. You could have a part-time job and a part-time internship. There's a lot of different combinations you can put together to make for a valuable summer. You are early in your career, even if you're a junior and it feels like you've been in this for a little bit. You're so early in your career, and college is a time of freedom to, you have that freedom to try stuff. So take advantage of it. It's not that you are locked into something the minute you graduate, but as you get older, as your life changes, your responsibilities changes, you do start to have a little less flexibility than you do now. So take advantage of that freedom while you've got it. All right, so if you do have particular organizations, particular roles, particular companies that you do have in mind that you've been very curious about or really have your sights set on, though this can also be a focus for your search. So if you've got a goal company, definitely check out what is open. Search for them on Handshake, search for them on other sites, go directly to their website and search. You can go to their HR or Work For Us, but sometimes internships aren't easy to find. So sometimes you can search on their website, see if they have internships. So you definitely want to see if they've got something open. But if either they don't have anything open or perhaps the deadline has passed, you also should expand and look at similar companies. Who are its competitors? Are there smaller versions, smaller to mid-sized companies? We tend to hear most about the big behemoth companies, your Googles and your ACLU for the big famous nonprofits. We tend to hear about sort of the biggest organizations. They absolutely have a lot of opportunities, and if you're interested in that work, definitely check it out or set your sights on it. But you can work at other similar types of organizations as well. Right. And then similarly, if you have a role in mind, if you're setting out to be a software engineer or a communications expert or a lab scientist, and if you have a particular role in mind, you may not, that's the type of role that might not be open to you if you're in your first year or your sophomore year, or you may not have built up enough skills and experiences to qualify for that yet. And so one thing to think about is there a version 1.0 of that role? Is there a more entry level or a simpler version of that? So one way of thinking about this is to look at a role and see what skills they're looking for. What skills, what experience they're looking for. And you can absolutely go ahead and apply for it. Even it's called what we call a stretch position. You absolutely could try. And research has shown that women in particular tend to talk themselves out of applying for things because they think they're not qualified. So we don't want you to talk yourself out of things that might be good for you, might be a good fit for you, but things can be competitive, or it may be that they do prefer somebody with a specific type of experience or something like that. And so that's why we want you to look for where you might be able to develop these skills and experiences elsewhere. So take a look at what they're requiring and think, where else could I find those skills? Could I learn them from a course? Could I learn them from another type of job? Could I get them from an internship at a smaller organization? Or can I get them from a role that is just that thing, And in general, so go ahead.
Yeah, just add to something Christine said that I just really wanted to emphasize. I think that sometimes we get stuck in this kind of idea that these big companies are the way to go, and that's the only internship that I want because it has the name, the prestige. I think that, and this is me making a case for smaller companies and organizations and nonprofits, but sometimes the opportunity there is that you get a lot more intimate experience in your internship when you go for smaller organizations. So I do think that each thing can have its pros and cons, but definitely I wouldn't want anyone to dismiss the idea of going to smaller organizations, because you really do get a valuable experience through that. Not that JP Morgan and Google are not great, we love them. But definitely there is something to be said about the power of just like a smaller experience, especially when you're just starting out.
And then you can build it sort of the get it on your resume experience. If you can get similar experience on your resume at a smaller place, you may find that you fall in love with a smaller or mid-sized organization and you lose that aspiration, or you may find that having built up the experience and the connections there, that might lead you to some of these bigger, more famous organizations if those remain, sort of in your sight. All right, so we're going to practice on this one. We're going to show you in the next slide a goal job. All right, you're going to pretend that it's your goal job. It might not be everybody's. And then we want you to read the description and identify 3 key skills that they seem to be looking for, and identify if any of those skills you already have. But if you don't already have them, think for a minute, how could you build or hone the skills or experiences that are missing from your background? And what might a version 1.0 of this job look like? Could there be something related where you could build up some of these skills and experiences? So we'll flip to that slide and then just take a second and answer any or all of those questions in the chat. So take a second and either jot down for yourself or in the chat, if you're willing to share, what seem to be three key things that they are looking for in this, for this internship opportunity. And then the second question was, of those 3 skills, do you already have one or more of those skills or experiences? And how could you pick up the other ones? Could be a skill set, could be content. Absolutely. Communication, writing, research. Anybody have any experience communicating directly with land trusts? I never have. What is a land trust?
That is super specific.
Right, but it's worth thinking about. So this is exactly what you don't want to say, oh, well, I don't even know what a land trust is, I'm not going to apply to this. You could perhaps Google land trust and find out a little bit more about what that is, and then say, well, I've never done that before, but I have done X, and that would be transferable or similar.
Mm-hmm. What I love about doing this work is that you could be in it for so many years, and new positions that are new to you will keep popping up, and you will learn every single day. But what Ada put in the chat, I'm so sorry if I mispronounced your name, communication, writing, researching, those are all great examples of transferable skills. And that's just a couple to start. So thank you for sharing that in the chat.
And similarly, if you are someone who's interested in government affairs, but not necessarily conservation policy, that this could still be a good opportunity to apply to, or you could take that as a springboard and say, well, if there's government affairs positions having to do with conservation, maybe there's government affairs positions that have to do with some issue that I'm more interested in, or perhaps there's a nonprofit where I could pick up some of these skills or some of these experiences and then apply to this, this type of organization or this particular type of role. Any other thoughts on whether you would apply to something like this, or whether, or what other type of, is there a version 1.0 of this kind of job that you can think of? All right, well, so before we move on, I just want to say one other thing, which is that do remember that as you're preparing to write a cover letter for something you're applying to, or perhaps preparing for an interview, that you can draw on your experience, not just from former internships and jobs, but from 2 other buckets. One would be your academic work, right? So obviously writing and researching is something that you do a lot as a college student in a variety of courses, but also from your extracurriculars. So for instance, you might be involved in a club where you have had to reach out to various organizations or partner and do some of these skills. So it's all of it's fair game. Any work you've done, any internships, your academic work, your extracurriculars, you can draw from as examples of you doing the work and having these transferable skills. So. Okay. And then bringing it back home, we definitely want to put on your radar that there's a lot of on-campus opportunities, some of which you may know about, some of which might be new to you. Barnard Works, which Urellis will talk about a little more, is where Barnard Works is where most on-campus opportunities are posted. That's going to be transitioning to Workday in March. So for your summer search, if you are in the latter part of March or April, you'll be looking there. But there's not as many on-campus jobs in the summer in offices as there are during the school year. But for instance, Beyond Barnard, we are going to be posting for 2 office assistant roles. Well, either one, we're going to do 1 full-time or 2 part-time office assistants. So you can keep your eye open for that. And there will be other departments across campus that will be hiring, student assistants for various roles. Barnard Reunion hires a group of students. So alumni and development and alumni relations is the department. They definitely post these opportunities on Barnard Works. This is a short term. It's usually about a month long because you help with doing a lot of the preparation for reunion and then actually help out during reunion. And reunion has been virtual for the last 2 years. They have still not decided whether they're going to go virtual or in person or some form of hybrid. So that's an interesting opportunity. And it's kind of, it starts usually right after classes end, and I believe reunion this year is June 9th to 12th. And so then you'd be done with it, and then you could move on to something else. So pre-college programs, Barnard runs a bunch of them for high school students, and they hire, those jobs might already be posted. And then towards the end of the summer, there's 2 big events. Access Barnard started last year holding a pre-orientation, and then new student orientation always does some hiring. And some of those roles usually last throughout the summer, and then of course intensify during that week right before classes start, where you have to do a lot of work. And then obviously on-campus opportunities can also include coursework. So that's another opportunity. You could take classes, Barnard, Columbia, or even other colleges and universities, although always check about transferring credits back. And of course, the little point at the bottom, you can do a combination of these things. You could work for Barnard Reunion and then work for pre-college programs, which tend to kick in a little bit later. You could stick around for, be working for the new student orientation and also do a class or something like that. So there's lots of flexibility. And we also want to shout out the fact that volunteering is also a thing. So this is a way, if you are working, sometimes we call it a day job, sometimes an income producing job. If you're working something just to bring in income, let's say you are nannying or you are tutoring or you are working in a retail situation, it could be working at a summer camp, if you've got a paid job, but you also want to be doing something to gain experience and do a little bit of career exploration. So you could, if you've got a sort of structured job, you could fit the volunteering in during flexible hours, or it could be the reverse. If you're doing something like babysitting or tutoring, where it's evenings or weekends, then you could spend the bulk of your days, if you wanted, or a couple of your days doing volunteer, which would be unpaid, but being able to supplement that with your paid jobs in the other offer. If you look for organizations that are in similar spaces as the goal jobs and organizations you've been looking at, it's a good way of gaining experience. It absolutely belongs on your resume and can teach you a lot of skills, give you a lot of experience, and also help build a network for the future. Many people parlay unpaid work, volunteer work into paid work down the road, sometimes even at the same organization. So something to think about. And in all of this, timing and preparation are important. There are a lot of deadlines out there. The big formal internship programs at big organizations tend to recruit in a more structured and earlier way. And so some of those do have fall or early winter deadlines, but many other places don't recruit a group of interns. They just hire interns as they go along. And then handshake, another little handshake tip, it forces people to put a deadline, like they have to answer, but sometimes that deadline, they could be considering applications all along. So you don't need to put it off just for the sake of putting it off. If you think it sounds like an interesting position, you want to get your application in early, that can be a good idea. It is true that things get posted throughout the semester. We're still only in the first half of February. Well, we're approaching the halfway mark. A lot of organizations don't necessarily know if they're going to be hiring interns until March or April or even May. So keep coming back, make it a routine. And while you're waiting for a good internship or a good job opportunity to open up, this is when you can be working on your resume, your cover letter, thinking of examples of your experiences. And then we don't need to tell you that the further the semester goes along, the more intense things tend to do. So it's definitely a good time of year to kind of lay the groundwork for this, come to workshops, see PCAs, peer career advisors to tighten up your resume, all of the stuff you can be doing now. And then once the opportunity starts springing up, you can be ready to apply. Okay, back to you, Rellis.
All right, so we're approaching near the end of our program, but we want to highlight some different Beyond Barnard resources that you should be utilizing to kind of leverage your job and internship search. I think sometimes, and I'll go into it further, we think of Beyond Barnard as just advising. So we really want to emphasize to you all and kind of show you the different resources that we have in-house that you all can utilize. And then I will lead us through a summary and our takeaways from the program.
So one thing we want to really have you focus on is there are quite a few internship programs through Beyond Barnard that provide funding for a variety of roles. And this is a big, unpaid internships are a huge issue. They are in all sorts of industries, but they tend to be concentrated in nonprofits, the arts, and then some ones that just don't make any sense at all, like media. Like there's no reason why media can't pay interns. They've gotten away with it for years and they're not budgeting. not everybody, but in general. So there's certain key industries that just don't have a history of paid internships. So this becomes a matter of equity. It's of great concern to everyone because, of course, students who come from a family that has the ability to give more financial support, have the freedom to take unpaid internships in some cases, and students who come from lower income households or who need to be earning a certain amount of money to help pay for college or support their families end up not being able to. This is where all these programs come in, they give you the ability to take unpaid internships, but to receive stipends, receive support that allows you to take those opportunities and build on them. So number one, our biggest program is the Beyond Barnard Internship Program. This runs actually fall, spring, and summer. The summer application will open on March 8th and will be due April 14th. And the key thing about the Beyond Barnard Internship Program is that you don't have to have all the details of your internship set to apply. So you should definitely look for the application to open. There's usually an info session to come to, and so you can get that started. And then as you secure your internship, as you find out the details, you can continue to update us. So, and that gives, I didn't memorize all the amounts. A lot of these are in the range of about $4,000 to $5,000 for the summer. It kind of varies by program. Some of them also include subsidized housing. It sort of depends. We have the Growing the Arts Internship Program, which funds and supports arts internships. This is very broad. It could be working in the actual arts as a dancer, as a performing artist, as a fine artist, but it's also the general world of art, arts administration, big organizations. It could be Lincoln Center, it could be a dance company, it could be a museum. It's pretty broad interpretation. So that's definitely something to look for. That application, I believe, if it's not live yet, it's about to go live, and the application will be due March 11th. we're really excited about the next one. The Laidlaw Research and Leadership Program is new to Barnard this year. And this is open to first and second year students because it funds and supports 2 summers. You're committing to 2 summers. The first summer you do research with a faculty mentor, and this can be in any field, any major or potential major, and with a particular focus on humanities and social sciences, but all fields are open. And so you do 6 weeks of, you're paid for 6 weeks of research the first summer with a faculty mentor, and then in the second summer you apply that research to an internship, to a leadership and action project, and then you receive some support throughout the year. That application is open and it is due on March 1st. So definitely you can look you can look up any of these on the Beyond Barnard website, and also you can look in Handshake under events for upcoming info sessions and various other things. And then next, we also have the New Pathways Bridgewater Scholars Program. It's a focus in finance, but it's actually fintech. So people who are interested in computer science, econ, statistics, data. It's a pipeline program to encourage more women into the areas of finance that are typically and sort of remain very male dominated. That's kind of the goal there. That application is opening any day now if it isn't already open, and we forgot to add the due date to that. But again, if you just search the website for Bridgewater Scholars Program, you'll find all of the information there. And finally, our other really big program that that Barnard offers that we do administrative support is the Summer Research Institute. So if you're in the sciences, from psychology to biology to neuroscience, etc., you can again work with a faculty mentor and get funding and support for scientific research. The application, again, all of them seem to be opening here in February, so keep your eyes open, and they're due, most of them, in March. I want to put a plug in for keeping your eye on every Wednesday afternoon. We send out Beyond Barnard Weekly, which has many information about many of these opportunities, as well as actually can spotlight various internship opportunities in general. So. And then Morellis will tell you a few other things.
All right, so I just want to acknowledge, Cassia, we do see your question. We will get to that. I believe you're referring to Laidlaw. Christine, I don't know if you know that off the top of your head. I believe so.
Laidlaw is only first years and sophomores. SRI is open to first year sophomores, juniors. If you're graduating, you can't do SRI.
Mm-hmm. And again, we can plug in the website where you can find all this information at the end of the program. If you all need that, I want to dig a little bit further into the variety of programs that we offer. So to continue on, in addition to all of the wonderful internship programs and funding opportunities we have, we also have a couple of different resources that we offer through Beyond Barnard as well. One of them being Barnard Works, which, like Christine mentioned, is transitioning to Workday. So that is something that we are all undergoing, and it's going to be a little bit of a learning curve. But the idea is that you can access Barnard Works or Workday for all these on-campus opportunities. So like Christine has mentioned earlier, we don't want to underestimate the power of having an on-campus position regarding the experience you can gain from that. Doing a callback to my original point at the beginning of the program, any experience is good experience. The idea is that you're doing something and you're gaining those transferable skills as you go along. So keep checking Barnard Works for those on-campus opportunities. Really, really great place to seek out, and you'll be on campus, which is just such a wonderful thing all the time. Handshake. So something that I cannot emphasize enough, utilize Handshake, be proactive with it. We really have so many resources and opportunities on there that you all can tap into as Barnard students. Some of it being off-campus opportunities. So of course, most of you might be familiar that we post jobs, internships, a variety of different experiences on Handshake. We have different connections with employers that are looking to connect with Barnard students. So you all really want to take advantage of that in terms of connecting and really casting as wide a net as Christine said earlier. Beyond Barnard programs and events. So this also connects back to our employers and the connections that we have with them. So if you are looking, exploring in different careers or looking to get more insight on the various opportunities that are out there, we have a plethora of programs and events just suited for that. And I'll kind of go into more of those specific programs in the next slide. But we, for instance, spotlighting our finance focus events that we have, all focusing on careers and internships within finance, banking, you name it. And we have a lot of really big names that are coming in and presenting and eager to meet with students. So I definitely encourage you to take a proactive approach and keep checking our events page. Because again, employers are excited to meet with students and they want to get to know you all. And it can be almost like a low stakes area to kind of begin your networking connections and getting to know employers in that sense. And I'll go into more programs on the next slide. Lastly, probably what we are most well known for is our advising, but also some of the different resources that we put on Handshake. So you all know you can meet with a peer career advisor, and I'll talk a little bit more on the next slide. You can meet with a full-time professional career advisor, but you also have access to our resources that we put on Handshake. So these are curated documents, all suited or geared towards helping you get the support that you need it almost immediately. All you have to do is log into Handshake and access those resources. I think we kind of pride ourselves in having a pretty well, a lot of documents on there that can kind of help you on your search. So if you're looking to spruce up your resume, looking for some guidance, and if you're pursuing pre-law, we have resources geared towards that. So I would definitely encourage you to seek out our resources section, which, if I'm remembering correctly, you go to the top right-hand corner in Handshake, go to Career Center, and on that page, you'll see the resources and you can search through that. Okay, like I mentioned, always relevant, right? Individual advising. You can book appointments on Handshake. I will do a personal plugin for our peer career advisors. These are students that we trained at the beginning of the fall semester, and they're available almost immediately for you all to meet with them. They meet in 30-minute basis. Their appointments are 30 minutes long. And they have a wide variety of appointments that they can help you all with. They advise on LinkedIn, Handshake, resume and cover letters, job and internship searching. Yeah, a lot of different networking will soon to be added to their appointment docket. So please utilize our PCAs. Again, if you're looking for a quick advising appointment or you have an immediate need to have someone look over your resume, that is why they are there. And we are meeting in person. So you're able to come into Beyond Barnard, into what we call our library, meet with the PCA and come to our space. So we're really, really excited about that. A little bit on Mentors in Residence program and also our Career Insights. So these two are programs that you are able to get to know our alum a little bit closer and really get to explore the different careers that are out there. Mentors in Residence is a panel that, let me move my chat box. It has weekly.
Just me.
Oh, okay. Weekly small conversations with alumni. So if you're interested in gaining a little bit more of an insight on what a particular alum is doing, or you're looking to learn a little bit more about the day-to-days about a particular position or a particular career, Mentors in Residence is a wonderful place to start. And I definitely encourage you all to attend those programs. And Career Insights. So these are the programs or the panel series that I lead. These are almost weekly panels with alum. We have usually 4 to 6 different graduates from Barnard College who all talk about a specific industry or the different careers that they're in. So I will do a plug-in for yesterday. We had health professions, and we just had a wonderful conversation about what it means to be in healthcare at the moment. what skills are you using on a day-to-day basis? And I really do think that having this opportunity to meet with alum and asking these questions that are on your mind, again, goes back to this idea of exploring what is interesting to you and really utilizing the resources. And I think at Barnard College, one of the most wonderful things about it is that you have a close-knit network, and you should leverage that as a Barnard student. They're always happy to help and engage with current students. So definitely don't forget to check the events. All right, so last but not least, so these are the main takeaways from the program. So we went over a lot of information, but these are the main things that we want you to take home with you. Again, what you do this summer probably won't dictate the rest of your career. Again, I do know that there is a sense of anxiety and stress and what I like to call the Barnard bubble when it comes to internship and job searching. So you see what your peers are doing, you feel like you're not doing enough, but I promise you, this is our promise, that this is just the beginning. You just want to make sure that you are doing an experience, and any experience that you have is a learning one. So even if it wasn't the best experience for you, you're getting something from that, and you're going to know, okay, for the future, this is not something that I want to pursue. Or on the other hand, you know that this is something you definitely want to go into and kind of explore in the future. So keep in mind that, and I hope that takes a little bit of stress off, and knowing that this does not set your path for the rest of your life. Like I said, as long as you're doing something, your experience will count. On-campus experiences, volunteer work, internships at small firms or internships at big companies, it all counts. And lastly, you want to set yourself up for success. And what we mean by that is utilizing all the resources at your disposal. We went over a lot today, and there is a lot of different things you can tap into, different steps you can take, which can feel overwhelming. But as long as you're taking it, one step at a time, and really making sure you are being proactive in your search, and really using everything at your disposal, I think you're going to end up okay. And also, again, reminding yourself that this is just the first step. Especially, if you're first year, your second year, you have time. And even if you're a senior graduating or in your junior year, and this is maybe the last internship before you start seeking a full-time job, then that is okay. That this is not setting you up or keeping you in a bubble for the rest of your life. So to follow up, if you are looking for more guidance, obviously we're always offering individual advising appointments, so please feel free to set one up with us. Anything to add, Christine?
I just wanted to point out, I got a question direct to me, and then I put the answer out to everybody. Handshake doesn't let you make more than one appointment. So I think sometimes people would love to pop in and see a PCA, but they already have an appointment, with myself or Urellis or our dean, AJ Ernstein. So little insider tip. If you would like to set up an extra appointment, if you email Beyond Barnard and let us know what you're looking for. So in this case, if you want to try and get in to see a PCA, then our staff who monitors that email will get back to you and can go in sort of behind the scenes in Handshake and set up a second appointment for you. So we're not going to set up 10 appointments for you, but we'll definitely allow that flexibility. So just one particular point. More generally, just definitely follow up with us. If anything's getting in your way, whether it's a feeling that you don't know what you want to do, or you're worried about a particular, you're worried about funding, or you're worried about how to write a cover letter, any of those specific parts of the internship search, if they're getting in your way, come see us. We will help you unblock and work around those problems. And we don't have a ton of time, but we would love to open it up to any further questions. Either you can unmute, or you can type it in the chat.
Yeah, I am going to also stop sharing my screen so I can see all of you and not look at this. Okay. Yeah, any questions at all, you can put it in the chat, unmute yourselves.
I meant to say before, when I was checking both Media Bistro and What's the nonprofit one?
Idealist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For a moment. I checked both of them about, so Idealist actually has a tab right there for internships. So that one's easy. Media Bistro, it's interesting. I searched internships and what I got was a list of things that mentioned internships, but a lot of it was in the context of a job saying, we want you to have had internship experience. But when I went to entry-level jobs, the first things that popped up were internships. And so you sometimes on the sites, sometimes especially on the niche sites, you have to do a little bit of digging to find internships, but there's a lot of opportunities out there. Any other questions, thoughts, concerns? Well, thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Eurelis.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you all. It's so nice to see you all. Thank you for coming. I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye, everyone.
Bye.